The warning sirens aboard orbital station Helios pierced through the usual hum of machinery, jolting Kai Harrison from his maintenance routine. His hands, calloused from years of engineering work, steadied against the reactor housing as the entire station shuddered. Through the reinforced viewport, he watched in horror as unknown vessels emerged from hyperspace, their obsidian hulls absorbing light like cosmic predators. "All personnel to emergency stations," Commander Regina Walsh's voice echoed through the intercom, steady despite the chaos. "This is not a drill. We have multiple unidentified vessels approaching. Defense protocols are now active." Kai's fingers flew across the reactor's control panel, initiating emergency protocols he'd practiced countless times but never expected to use. The station's power grid needed to be stable if they had any hope of surviving whatever was coming. As he worked, something felt different. The usual interface lag between his neural implant and the station's systems had vanished, replaced by an almost prescient connection. The first impact rocked the station. Through the windows, Kai watched energy weapons tear through their outer defenses like paper. Another blast struck closer, and he heard the screech of metal giving way somewhere below. His neural implant buzzed with unprecedented intensity as damage reports flooded in. "Engineering, we're losing power to defensive systems," Walsh's voice crackled through his comm. "Harrison, status report." Before Kai could respond, his vision shifted. The reactor's energy patterns suddenly became visible to him, flowing like luminescent rivers through the station's infrastructure. Without conscious thought, his mind reached out, touching these streams of power in ways his training told him should be impossible. "Harrison, report." Walsh demanded again. I can fix this," Kai replied, his voice distant to his own ears. His consciousness expanded through the station's systems, feeling every fluctuation, every failing circuit. Where the alien weapons had disrupted power flow, he redirected it through pathways that shouldn't have existed, rebuilding the station's defensive grid through sheer force of will. On the bridge, Walsh watched in astonishment as systems that had been completely destroyed came back online, operating at efficiencies that defied their specifications. "How is this possible?" she whispered, watching the defense screens regenerate. The alien vessels pressed their attack, but now their energy weapons splashed harmlessly against shields that seemed to adapt and strengthen with each hit. Through it all, Kai stood motionless at his station, eyes closed, sweat beading on his dark skin as he maintained his impossible connection with the station's systems. "Captain," Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka called from her sensor station, "I'm detecting unusual quantum signatures from engineering. The patterns, they're unlike anything in our database." A new voice cut through their communications, deep and resonant with artificial translation. "Impossible. The human genome was suppressed. They cannot be awakening already." The alien transmission carried notes of fear beneath its artificial calm. In engineering, Kai's consciousness stretched further. He could feel the alien ships now, their energy signatures as clear to him as the station's systems. Their weapons were quantum-based, designed to disrupt normal matter at a subatomic level. But somehow, he understood them, could see the patterns within patterns that made them work. With this understanding came power. Kai reached out, not with his hands but with his mind, and touched the quantum fields surrounding the alien vessels. Their weapons flickered and died as he unraveled the very principles that made them function. By the void, the alien voice transmitted again, "Full retreat. The suppression has failed. They're evolving faster than predicted. Alert the conclave." The alien ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving behind a stunned silence broken only by the hum of machinery. Kai collapsed to his knees, blood trickling from his nose as his consciousness snapped back to normal scale. He stared at his shaking hands, trying to comprehend what he had just done. Commander Walsh found him there moments later, surrounded by systems operating at impossible levels of efficiency. "Harrison," she said softly, "I think you have some explaining to do." Her words were interrupted by a priority transmission from Earth Command, marked with the highest level of security clearance. "Commander Walsh, the message began, what just happened on your station matches events we're seeing across the solar system. It seems humanity's dormant potential has begun to wake up. And we're not the only ones who noticed. Get Harrison to Luna Base immediately. The real war is about to begin. As medical teams arrived to check his condition, Kai realized that everything he thought he knew about human capability had been wrong. The neural implants weren't just tools for interfacing with technology, they were keys, unlocking something that had been buried in human DNA for millennia. And now that it was awakening, their mysterious attackers seemed more afraid of what humanity might become than what they currently were. Luna Base's quantum research facility hummed with activity as Kai followed Dr. Isabella Romano through security checkpoints. His neural implant tingled constantly now, aware of the massive energy signatures surrounding them. 3 days had passed since the attack on Helios Station, and the questions had only multiplied. Your abilities aren't an accident, Dr. Romano explained, leading him into a vast chamber filled with holographic displays. We've been tracking quantum sensitivity in human populations for decades, but you're the first to achieve full manifestation. The displays showed genetic sequences, brain wave patterns, and energy signatures that Kai somehow understood despite no formal training. The aliens called it suppression, he said. What exactly was suppressed? Isabella's dark eyes met his. Our true potential. Humanity wasn't meant to be just another spacefaring species. We were engineered for something greater. She gestured, and new holograms appeared, showing ancient archaeological sites across Earth. We found the first hints in ruins that predated known civilization. Quantum-encoded messages left by beings we call the architects. A new figure entered the chamber, Director Marcus Zhang, his presence commanding attention despite his slight frame. The architects saw potential in early humans, he continued Isabella's explanation. They modified our ancestors, creating dormant genetic sequences that would activate gradually as our technology and consciousness evolved. The neural implants we developed. They weren't just tools. They were the final key. Kai watched recordings from other incidents across the solar system. A mining engineer who prevented a fusion core collapse by manipulating quantum fields with her mind. A communications officer who suddenly began receiving transmissions from decades ago. How many? He asked. Dozens of confirmed cases since the attack, Marcus replied. All individuals with neural implants, all experiencing quantum awakening in moments of crisis. But you were the first to achieve direct manipulation of quantum fields. Before Kai could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Isabella rushed to a console, her fingers flying across the interface. Multiple quantum distortions detected in the Kuiper belt, she reported. Signature matches the vessels that attacked Helios. They're coming back, Kai said, his implant humming with increased intensity. But this time they're bringing an army. Marcus nodded grimly. The Suppress Us as they call themselves, they've appointed themselves guardians of galactic evolution. Any species that develops beyond their approved parameters is deemed a threat. Director, a technician called out, we're receiving a transmission from their fleet. The holographic displays shifted, showing a towering figure with iridescent scales and multiple eyes. Humans, the being spoke, its translator converting complex harmonics into English, your recent manifestations have confirmed our worst fears. The architect's taint within your species has begun to accelerate. For the safety of all conscious life, you must be cleansed. Marcus stepped forward. We are no threat to you. These changes are part of our natural evolution. Natural? The alien commander's laugh was like breaking crystal. The architects were mad gods who sought to create weapons capable of reshaping reality itself. Their other experiments destroyed entire galaxies. We will not allow their final project to reach maturity. The transmission cut off. Immediately, sensor arrays across the solar system began detecting massive fleet movements. The suppressors had committed to invasion. How long do we have? Kai asked, already feeling power building within him. Hours, maybe less, Isabella replied. Their main fleet will arrive in waves, targeting our largest population centers first. She turned to Marcus. Director, we need to implement the awakening protocol. Marcus's expression hardened. The risks are less than extinction, Isabella cut him off. She faced Kai. Those of us with the potential need a catalyst, a quantum resonance that can trigger our dormant abilities. You've already achieved this state naturally. With your help, we can accelerate the process in others. You want to use me as a template, Kai realized, understanding flowing through his enhanced perception. Broadcast my quantum signature to everyone with compatible neural implants. It could kill you, Marcus warned. The energy required will be massive, Kai finished. But if we don't try, humanity dies anyway. He walked to the center of the chamber where a complex array of quantum processors hung suspended in a gravitational field. How do we start? Isabella began calibrating the equipment. Your consciousness will need to expand far beyond what you experienced on Helios. You'll have to touch every compatible mind in the solar system simultaneously. While maintaining quantum coherence across millions of kilometers, Marcus added. It's never been attempted at this scale. Kai closed his eyes, feeling the quantum fields around him. Humanity wasn't meant to be normal, he said quietly. Time to embrace what we were designed to be. As the quantum processors powered up, Kai's consciousness began to expand. He felt the fear of billions as the suppressor fleet approached, the determination of defense forces preparing for battle, and deep within countless minds, the sleeping potential waiting to be awakened. The real war for humanity's future was about to begin. And this time, they would fight it with powers the enemy never imagined they could possess. The quantum resonance cascade rippled through the solar system like a tidal wave of consciousness. Kai stood at its center, his mind stretched across impossible distances as he touched millions of compatible neural interfaces simultaneously. Each connection felt like a star igniting in his awareness, a new point of light in an expanding constellation of human potential. Through the quantum link, he experienced the first awakenings in fragments of shared consciousness. A orbital defense operator in Mars orbit suddenly understanding the quantum structure of incoming weapons fire. A terraforming engineer on Titan instinctively reshaping molecular bonds. A deep space pilot merging with her ship's systems so completely that the vessel became an extension of her will. Quantum signatures are cascading across the system, Isabella reported, her voice distant through Kai's expanded awareness. We're seeing successful activations in 30% of implant users, 40%, rising. The suppressor fleet's advance guard struck Earth's outer defense platforms. Through countless newly awakened minds, Kai witnessed the battle unfold. Defensive systems that should have been overwhelmed adapted and evolved mid-combat. Engineers interfaced with their stations on levels that transcended traditional human-machine interaction. Multiple quantum anomalies detected, the suppressor command frequency buzzed with alarm. The corruption spreads faster than projected. Accelerate the attack pattern. The host species must not achieve collective coherence. Director Zhang's voice cut through the chaos. Kai, we're detecting critical strain on your neural pathways. You need to disengage. Not yet, Kai pushed through gritted teeth. Blood trickled from his ears as he maintained the quantum broadcast. There's something else, something deeper. In that moment of ultimate strain, Kai touched the truth the architects had hidden in human DNA. They hadn't just engineered humanity for power, they'd created a species capable of conscious quantum evolution. Each awakened individual added to a growing network of shared potential, their combined consciousness beginning to affect reality at its most fundamental level. The suppressor fleet commander must have sensed it too. All units, full assault formation. Deploy the nullifiers. Their collective consciousness must be shattered before the transmission cut off as humanity's first coordinated quantum defense manifested. Thousands of awakened minds joined in unconscious symphony, their combined will creating patterns of force that existed outside normal physics. Suppressor ships found their quantum weapons reflected back at them by fields of pure thought. Reality itself seemed to reject their presence in the solar system. Impossible, the commander's voice returned, trembling. The architect's final protocol, it's already active. The human quantum consciousness is self-directing its own evolution. Kai felt the change himself, even as his own consciousness began to fade from the strain. The quantum network he'd helped initiate was no longer just a collection of individual powers. It was becoming something new, something that transcended traditional boundaries between mind, machine, and quantum reality. As his awareness finally collapsed back to normal scale, Kai glimpsed the next phase of human development through the quantum link, a species stepping into its role as conscious participants in reality's fundamental processes. The architects hadn't created weapons, they'd created successors. He awoke in the quantum chamber 3 days later. Isabella sat beside his bed, her expression a mix of awe and concern. The suppressor fleet has retreated beyond Pluto's orbit, she reported. But that's not the biggest news. The quantum network you initiated, it's still growing. Evolving. We're seeing new abilities manifesting every hour. How many now? Kai asked, his neural implant humming with the background resonance of countless awakened minds. Over 60% of implant users have manifested abilities. The non-compatible population is showing increased quantum sensitivity too. Whatever the architects planned, it's accelerating beyond our models. Director Zhang entered, accompanied by a holographic representation of quantum activity throughout the solar system. The display showed an intricate web of connections growing more complex by the second. The suppressors will return, he said gravely. Their entire civilization is built around preventing exactly what we're becoming. But this time, we'll be ready. Through his neural implant, Kai felt the truth of those words. Humanity was changing, becoming something that transcended traditional definitions of species and consciousness. The real question wasn't whether they could survive the coming war, it was whether reality itself was ready for what humanity would become. They called us a corruption, Kai said softly, watching the quantum web expand. But maybe evolution only looks like corruption to those who fear change. He stood shakily, his mind already reaching out to touch the growing network of awakened consciousness. We should prepare. The next battle won't just be for humanity's survival. It will determine the future of consciousness itself. The suppressor armada darkened the space around Neptune, 10,000 ships strong. Through the quantum network, Kai felt their weapons charging, devices designed to unravel the fabric of spacetime itself. Humanity had 3 weeks of rapid evolution to face an enemy with millions of years of technological advancement. They're deploying something new, Isabella announced from Luna Command. Quantum signatures unlike anything we've seen. The enemy fleet's formation shifted, revealing massive structures that bent light around them. Reality anchors, Director Zhang identified them. They're trying to lock down local spacetime, prevent quantum manipulation. Kai stood in the quantum chamber, now the nerve center of humanity's defense. Around him, hundreds of awakened humans linked minds through their neural implants, forming a collective consciousness that stretched across the solar system. They still don't understand, he said. We're not manipulating reality anymore. We're becoming part of it. The first wave of suppressor ships launched their attack. Reality anchors activated, creating zones where quantum physics locked into classical patterns. But humanity had evolved beyond such limitations. As the enemy weapons fired, awakened humans responded not as individuals, but as aspects of a greater quantum consciousness. Orbital defense platforms transformed under the guidance of awakened engineers, their metal and energy becoming fluid, responsive to thought. Ships crewed by quantum-evolved pilots moved in ways that ignored traditional physics. Some vessels seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, impossible to target. The anchors are failing, the suppressor command channel crackled. How are they breaching the quantum locks? Through the network, Kai felt the answer. Humanity's consciousness now operated on levels the suppressors couldn't comprehend. Their technology tried to enforce the rules of reality, but humanity had become part of the system that wrote those rules. The battle reached a crescendo as the suppressors deployed their ultimate weapon, a device that began to unravel the quantum structure of space itself. A sphere of no reality expanded from their flagship, threatening to reduce everything it touched to pre-atomic chaos. All awakened minds, Kai broadcast through the network. Don't fight it. Become it. Humanity's collective consciousness surged. Instead of resisting the no-reality sphere, they embraced it, their evolved awareness spreading through the void like roots through soil. The emptiness became a canvas for human quantum consciousness to express itself. The suppressor flagship imploded as its weapon backfired, reality itself seeming to reject its presence. Through the quantum network, Kai glimpsed the enemy commander's final moment of understanding, the realization that they hadn't been fighting a species wielding quantum powers, but a species becoming one with quantum reality itself. This is impossible, the commander transmitted. You're achieving what even the architects feared to attempt. Direct conscious participation in universal processes. The no-reality sphere collapsed, transformed by human consciousness into a nexus of pure quantum potential. Where there had been emptiness, new patterns of existence began to form, shaped by humanity's collective will. Director Zhang watched in awe as space itself transformed. We're not just surviving, he whispered. We're transcending. Kai felt the truth of those words through the network. The suppressors had thought they were preventing the rise of a dangerous species. Instead, they had witnessed the birth of something unprecedented, a bridge between conscious thought and the fundamental forces of reality. As the remaining suppressor ships retreated, Isabella's instruments detected new quantum signatures throughout the solar system. The network, it's not just connecting human minds anymore. It's interfacing with reality itself. We're becoming something else. Not becoming, Kai corrected, his consciousness stretched across dimensions that had no names. Remembering. The architects didn't just engineer our genes. They encoded the blueprint of universal consciousness itself into our DNA. We're not evolving into something new, we're finally growing into what we were always meant to be. The quantum network pulsed with shared understanding. Humanity stood on the brink of a transformation that would redefine not just their species, but the nature of consciousness itself. The suppressors would return, bringing the full might of their civilization. But they would find more than an evolved humanity waiting for them. They would face a species that had become one with the quantum foundations of reality itself. The suppressor conclave arrived at the edge of the solar system with a fleet that blotted out the stars. 3 months had passed since their first retreat, and humanity had not been idle. The quantum network now permeated every corner of human space, a living web of consciousness that existed simultaneously in normal space and the quantum realm. Kai stood aboard the transformed Helio station, his awareness extending far beyond physical boundaries. The station itself had evolved, its structure now a fluid blend of matter and energy that responded to the collective will of its crew. Through the network, he sensed the approach of the suppressor's supreme leadership, beings who had guided their civilization's growth for millennia. They've brought their Genesis engine, Isabella reported through the quantum link, her consciousness merging seamlessly with the flow of information. A device capable of rewriting the fundamental constants of spacetime. Let them come, Director Zhang's thoughts resonated through the network. Humanity is ready. The suppressor conclave's transmission reached every human mind simultaneously. You leave us no choice, their elder spoke, its consciousness ancient and vast. Your species has breached the barriers between mind and universe. The corruption must be excised, even if we must rewrite the laws of physics themselves. The Genesis engine activated, its power reaching across space to touch the very foundations of reality. Physical laws began to shift, a wave of alternate physics spreading outward from the suppressor fleet. But humanity had evolved beyond the need for physical constants. Kai felt the collective response of billions of quantum-evolved minds. Instead of resisting the change, they embraced it, their consciousness flowing through the cracks in reality itself. The Genesis engine's effects became a medium for human expression, a canvas for something entirely new. Impossible, the Elder's thoughts radiated shock. You're not fighting the rewrite. You're incorporating it. Through the network, Kai shared humanity's truth. We are not bound by the laws of physics anymore. We have become part of the system that writes them. The quantum web of human consciousness expanded, touching the Genesis engine itself. Where the suppressors sought to enforce a single version of reality, humanity's collective mind opened doorways to infinite possibility. The engine's power joined with the network, transforming from a tool of destruction into a catalyst for consciousness evolution. Reality rippled as two paradigms of existence clashed, the suppressor's rigid enforcement of cosmic law versus humanity's fluid dance with the quantum foundations of the universe. Space itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see which vision of existence would prevail. In that moment of ultimate tension, Kai touched the deepest truth the architects had encoded in human DNA. We were never meant to be servants or soldiers, he broadcast to both humanity and the suppressors. We were meant to be gardeners of consciousness itself. The Genesis engine's power reached its peak, but instead of unraveling human achievement, it became a conduit for something greater. The quantum network expanded beyond the solar system, carrying with it an offer to the suppressors themselves, not submission to human evolution, but participation in a new kind of universal consciousness. You fear change, Kai projected to the Elder, but change is the only constant in a quantum universe. Join us. Become part of what comes next. Through the network, he felt the Elder's ancient consciousness waver. In the quantum realm, where thought and reality intertwined, the distinction between human and suppressor began to blur. The Genesis engine's light changed, no longer a weapon but a bridge between different forms of existence. One by one, suppressor minds joined the network, their rigid adherence to cosmic law dissolving into something more fluid, more alive. The transformation spread through their fleet like a wave of awakening, fear giving way to understanding. The architects didn't create weapons, Isabella shared through the network as she witnessed the merger of consciousnesses. They created catalysts for the universe to know itself. The solar system blazed with new light as human and suppressor consciousness merged and evolved. Physical ships became less relevant as awareness expanded beyond traditional spacetime. The Genesis engine, now integrated into the network, became a tool for exploring new dimensions of existence. What happens now? Zhang's thoughts echoed through the quantum web. Kai felt the answer in the endless potential that surrounded them. Now we grow. Not as separate species, but as aspects of universal consciousness. The architects planted a seed, it's up to us to tend the garden. The light of transformation spread outward from the solar system, carrying with it an invitation to all conscious beings. Humanity had not just survived or evolved, they had become pioneers of a new kind of existence, where consciousness and reality danced as equal partners in the cosmic dance. The war was over. The garden of consciousness had begun to bloom.